Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Alright, let's get started. Our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not putting my boyfriend's name on my house? I really thought this was normal, but so many people are telling me that I'm a B for not doing so. So it's starting to mess with my head a little bit. I recently received a house from my grandmother, and she passed away and left her two houses to my sister and I. We sat down between the two of us and decided that she should have the bigger house as she's married and has two kids, and another one is on the way, while I would move into the smaller two-bedroom house. My sister's husband has been added to the title of the house as he helped her pay the tax on it. I was able to pay the tax on mine by myself as it was cheaper due to it being smaller because my boyfriend of 3 years didn't contribute financially towards it. I didn't think that I would be putting him on the title. We had a housewarming party last weekend, and his parents came up to me towards the end of the night and were going on about how lucky boyfriend and I are to be able to live somewhere like this rent free, and it gives us such a head start in life, and that they were very appreciative that I had given half of the house to my boyfriend. I corrected them and I said that I hadn't, and he wasn't on the title, but he was welcome to live with me and not pay rent so that he had more money to put towards his studies. We're both master's students. They immediately became very judgmental, saying that it was unfair for not putting his name on the title, and I clearly didn't expect the relationship to last. I didn't trust him, etc. I say that they were being unfair and he wasn't entitled to half my family's house, and then walked away. Now, numerous members of his family have messaged me and him saying that I'm a B and I don't trust him, and tell him to watch out because clearly I don't love him, etc. So, am I the jerk here? I've gotten a bunch of messages ask why my boyfriend thinks, and I put my response here. I've brought it up with him on Monday, and he said he feels like it's a sign that I don't trust him. I said that I wouldn't add a man to the title unless we were married, and he was paying for half of the rates and stuff like that. He said that he feels like I'm blackmailing him into getting married. I said that wasn't it. I just wouldn't want to make a huge commitment like this, giving him half my house without some commitment from him. And he just said to drop it because we're never going to agree, so let's just leave it here so we don't argue. Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, Opie inherited the house
Mm hmm.
and she paid all the taxes on it.
Mm hmm.
He's not, it doesn't sound like he's not paying anything.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah, that's the weird thing here is like I don't know that anyone would really approach the situation that I know of who would say that OP was in the wrong here. This usually is pretty customary that you don't give half of an extraordinarily expensive asset to a boyfriend or girlfriend. Like that's generally when you combine assets because you get married, when you combine assets,
yeah,
right?
or some other long term
Yeah,
partnership. Like
yeah.
a 3 year relationship, it's not short, it's not
Yeah.
trivial, but it's not super long in the scheme of things.
Well, it would also be different if they had made a decision ahead of time that they
Mm hmm.
weren't getting married and that
Mm
they
hmm.
wanted to spend their life together and that they were going to show commitments to each other in different ways.
Mm
And
hmm.
certainly I'm fine with that, right? I'm not saying, of course, marriage is the only time, but it just generally is when people do tend to combine their assets,
Mm
right?
hmm.
So I think that in this particular case, he's the one who's trying to turn this around on her and make it seem like she's being unreasonable by doing a very reasonable thing. And now he's gotten his family involved to harass her too. Like, this is a big red flag to me because normally couples take time to sit down with each other and work out their problems between them and not have their other family come and bully them into a decision.
Mm hmm.
So,
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like the people who are telling Opie she's wrong are all his family, it
yeah.
sounds like. And like
Yeah.
they're not unbiased, objective people here.
Why aren't you giving our relative half of your 150, $200,000 house? Why aren't you giving him $100,000? Do you not love him enough to give him $100,000 or
Like,
more?
I feel like if the shoe was on the other foot and he had inherited the house,
Yeah.
these people wouldn't want her on the
Yeah,
title.
it feels this kind of feels like one of those situations where if she were to be in his position, then they would be like, "Why would you feel entitled to half of that house? He's working hard for this. Like you're just trying to get blackmail him and get the money out of him. You know, you're being whatever, because that tends to be how these people are.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think OP is the jerk in this situation. I definitely think that they are right to not do this, but the family is certainly not making it easy for them to see clearly.
Mm-hmm. Our next story is, am I the jerk for being upset with my girlfriend for leaving me alone at her family reunion?
And this one was actually one that No Equivalent let us share, and the next letter as well. So thank you, No Equivalent. I really appreciate you letting us use your letter.
Hey y'all, long time lurker, first time poster. I'm a 27-year-old male, and my girlfriend, a 28-year-old female, have been dating for about 2 years. Her family has a family reunion every couple of years, and this year she was on the planning committee. I'm familiar with some of her immediate family, but I don't really know much of her bigger family. This Thursday, before the festivities kicked off, we went out to celebrate her passing an exam and to welcome her brother to our city. We went to a karaoke bar, and I got up a few times to sing. Every time I went to sing, I scanned the audience looking for her, but she was gone every time I got on stage. Thinking that this was a harbinger of things to come, after we left the bar, I pulled her aside and told her how it made me feel when I got up and didn't see my person in the audience to support me. I told her my fear that is that when the family reunion kicked off, she'd do the same and leave me alone with strangers, and I wouldn't be happy with that. She apologized and assured me that it wouldn't happen again. Fast forward to the first day of the reunion, and she introduces me to a few people and leaves. I couldn't find her, and I was left at the table by myself, awkwardly making small talk with strangers and checking my phone. I felt very uncomfortable. The same repeated the second day today. After the event today, I got into a fight and I told her to look to the other couples that brought someone who was a stranger to the family as an example. Not one of them left their partner's side or moved without including them. She started crying and then stormed off upstairs. We spoke again and she told me that I should tell her every instance I felt uncomfortable. I told her that that wasn't feasible because I don't want to cause a scene. I feel as though I shouldn't have to say the magic words I feel uncomfortable every time she leaves me alone at a function when I barely know anyone because one, it's pretty obvious, and two, we had the explicit conversation the day before that I'd feel uncomfortable in this specific scenario. Now, I kind of don't want to go to the last event, but I feel compelled to because I don't want to cause a scene by not being there. Am I the jerk? Edited to add. She says I'm out of line because it's not her responsibility to hold my hand, and because I know some of her immediate family, I have no reason to feel uncomfortable.
All right, folks, what do you think?
I'm going to say not the jerk here. And this is coming from the perspective of someone who has been diagnosed with social anxiety as well
Yeah.
as general anxiety. And an important thing to know is like, so OP doesn't say he has a diagnosis here, but this sounds a lot like social anxiety.
Well, and in the comments, he does mention that he has anxiety.
Okay, yeah.
So this is actually a fair thing to say that he does have social anxiety.
And anxiety is very different for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. And so, um, like just kind of reading this, like this is definitely a situation I would not be comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think kind of the key for me is OP explicitly told his partner, his girlfriend, he said, I don't want you to leave me alone with strangers. And she said agreed she wouldn't. And so
Yeah.
that's really what this hinges on for me.
That's where this kind of feels like it's a that's the deciding point for me as well on this one. I really feel like they have some communication troubles here, and I think that's something that they certainly need to work out. But I feel like with her committing to actually stay by his side,
Right.
that's where I kind of am feeling that she probably wasn't necessarily doing her part on this.
Well, I feel like OP communicated his feelings very clearly in this
Mm-hmm.
exchange, and like he's right that like your partner should be able to intuit to some degree whether you're comfortable or not. They should be paying enough attention. Like if anytime we've gone to like a big event where there's lots of strangers, Brian can kind of like read me and sense like he's not going to go off and just like, here Amber, have all these strangers, good
Yeah.
luck.
Well, and if I do end up leaving you, it's only for, I check on you
Mm-hmm.
and, give you time to, not be by yourself for too long.
Right. It's not like I never leave Brian's side.
Yeah.
I mean, but like he will make sure that I'm comfortable with everything and not
Mm-hmm.
just like disappear. Like, and
Yeah.
if I needed to find him, I'd be able to find him. Like, I
Yeah.
would, because that, for me not being able to find my partner, like that would be really hard. Like, oh, there's all these strangers and I don't have any idea where Brian is.
Yeah. So I do think that like she does have a point that OP probably doesn't that she shouldn't be holding his hand the entire time, but they need to work out a system where They can allow each other to communicate when he's uncomfortable or when things are going wrong with them, or that she can check in on him, so on and so forth, so that they can actually both enjoy the event to some degree. And like the trouble I have is, again, that she made a commitment to essentially be there for him, and if she couldn't meet that expectation, if that was something she wasn't able to do and it was going to extend her, then she needs to learn how to say, I can't do that. I can do this instead, right?
Well, it also like just it doesn't seem very like a caring way to approach things. Like if I were to go on stage and do something, like he wouldn't disappear every time I was on stage. You'd watch me, and if you had to leave or something, like, and so like it just seems like every step of the way she wasn't really focused on his needs, and I think that's where the big fail is, that she's just not paying enough attention
Yeah.
to what he needs out of it.
Yeah, and one of the comments some of the people addressed and is like, "Oh, how can OP have social anxiety if they can get up onto the stage and do karaoke?" And I think that's actually an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah, so actually, I used to love being on the stage when I was. I've had social anxiety my whole life,
Hmm.
but I loved, before I knew I was a bad singer, I used to love, I am a horrible singer, but I didn't realize this until I was like an adult. But I love chorus concerts. I love being in plays. It's like it's a very different experience, and for me, like having a script or like a set topic, like so I can
Hmm.
also lecture. I was a teacher for so many years, and not many years, but you know what I mean. Uh, and with lectures, you have like a set subject matter you're talking about,
Hmm.
but small talk, like, I run out of that very quickly. It's like, oh, hi, how's the weather? How's your job? Okay, that's all I got. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that, scripted events that are well structured tend to be easier for people to do, especially when they have anxiety things. So I just thought that was an interesting point that people were trying to talk about, and saying that, oh, he clearly can't have anxiety here because X, Y, and Z, right? And
yeah.
I think that, social anxiety is one of those things that can impact people in a lot of different ways, and
Mhm.
have people have a lot of different coping mechanisms. So I hope everything worked out in the end for you, OP. I think that this is, again, boils down to, for me, a communication issue. I think you two need to kind of sit down, set some expectations, set some goals, and I think that you also probably need to work out some of these problems. If you're not seeing a therapist, find a therapist and help them, work with them to help you solve your problems. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not giving my mayonnaise to my boyfriend? And this was also one that someone allowed me to use, so thank you, Throwaway Mayonnaise. I really appreciate you allowing us to read this letter today. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we've been arguing about this for 2 months and there's still no rightful party. So we've decided to ask for Reddit for help. 2 months ago, me, a 25-year-old female, and my boyfriend, a 25-year-old male, went to IKEA to grab a bite, and we both bought a menu that included French fries. So naturally, the cashier gave us both mayonnaise at the checkout. The problem started when she gave me 3 packs of mayonnaise instead of two and gave him two. I didn't realize that he got one lesser pack. We sat down, and before even began eating, he jokingly grabbed one of my mayonnaise from the tray. Mind you, we often do these kinds of things at home, so I thought of it in a playful, non serious way and grabbed the pack back from him while laughing. He grabbed the pack a few more times without saying anything, and still in a playful manner, and I grabbed it back just like before. I sensed something was off after we started eating. He was very quiet and constantly shutting down my every attempt to talk. I asked him what was wrong and only got nothing's answers. I instead one last time to find out what was wrong, and he admitted that he was upset that I did not give him one of the mayonnaise packs. I told him that I didn't understand that he seriously wanted the pack since he grabbed it a few times without expressing himself. He said that I knew he likes mayonnaise more than I do, and because he saw the cashier giving me an extra pack, he thought I'd give it to him. I expressed to him a couple more times that I would gladly share a pack if he had asked properly in the first place. But since he was so rude and acting like he was entitled to that pack without even bothering to ask, I refused to give it to him. We began arguing back and forth and never came to a conclusion since then. He defends that I should have laughed it off and given the mayonnaise to him since it's not a big deal and since I'm his girlfriend and best friend. And he should be able to take anything from my tray without asking because he'd let me do so. Why not a pack of mayonnaise then?
Right, isn't Opie just like taking it right back? So
He also says that he can do this anytime that he wants with one of his male friends, so why should I react any differently? I defended that if he had asked properly instead of just grabbing it without saying anything, that I would have given it to him without hesitation. So please tell me, who is the jerk here? Edit, we're obviously not arguing about this every single day. This just comes up every once in a while and it's kind of infuriating not to have this conclusion. This is pretty much the only thing we ever discuss about long term. Again, every once in a while. So, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
I think Opie's not the jerk here. I mean, he just kept grabbing the mayonnaise without saying anything. Like they have this playful dynamic at home.
Yeah.
And like she just assumed he was joking. Like you have to communicate sometimes. Like and not everyone is great with words, but
but how hard is it to be like, hey, can I have that extra pack of mayonnaise that you got? I really want it.
Right.
Like that's all he had to do. And I think that this is a little bit of a, situation where he needs to use his words.
Yeah, like he could have asked the cashier for an extra pack of mayonnaise at that point in time.
He could have asked anything. He
Yeah.
could have just used his words just once and that could have solved this problem. And all OP is saying is please respect my boundaries and please ask me before you take something of mine. And I know that he says that OP can take anything that they want, but OP, if that's true, then he should have been fine with you taking this pack of mayonnaise back from him because you clearly wanted it at that time, right? So it doesn't matter if he normally wants mayonnaise more or likes it more than you or any number of things. The fact of the matter is that partners respect each other and they show each other respect by asking each other for things.
And then on top, expect the person to know exactly what they mean by this. Because again, if they playfully take things from each other regularly at home, like how is she supposed to know that he's not just like, oh, haha, this is fun?
Yeah. Here's my final thoughts. I think you're in the right. I think your boyfriend is in the wrong. I think he needs to learn how to use his words and approach these situations like an adult. Like adults use their words. And that's just how it is. If this is an expectation that you set out, then you have every right to enforce that boundary and to say, this is how I expect to be treated. It doesn't matter what kind of dynamic you have with your friends. You're allowed to set up reasonable boundaries. You're allowed to set up how you expect these interactions to go. And just because he has an interaction with someone else in a different way doesn't mean that you have to have that interaction.
And you don't have to be a mind reader. Because again, it sounds like you thought everything was happening one way and he just expected you to intuit that this is what I actually mean. And that's an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah, exactly. All right, folks, it is water time again. I know. June was suggesting to me that I get iced tea so that I could do tea time. It was still a little bit toasty today. I mean, it was actually a little bit cooler, but I just didn't get it. It's still too warm for tea, though. It's a little too warm for tea.
What is the difference between 100 and 1,000?
I don't know, 2 zeros? I mean, wait, 1 0?
Yeah, 0.
Oh, 0? Well, here I am. I didn't even do math, apparently. It's like 2 zeros?
All right, we'll do one more. Because I saw the word cat. If 5 cats catch 5 rats in 5 minutes, how many cats do you need to catch 100 rats in 100 minutes?
If 5 cats catch 5 rats in 5 minutes, how many cats do you need
to catch 100 rats in 100 minutes?
5. The same 5 will do it, unless they get worn out. I mean, we'll assume diminishing returns, and we'll say 7.5 cats. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
If you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a like, and if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
I'm the Leaning Tower of Brian. Amber's also the Leaning Tower of Amber.